Hello and welcome back to another episode of Coaching Conversations with Nick and Chris. Today we're going to be talking to you about what the metrics you absolutely need to know in your sales process. Hello, welcome back for another episode of Coaching Conversations with Nick and... No, it's the other way around with Chris and
Nick
and Chris. We'll get that right next week.
Yeah, that's what it is.
We'll try that next week.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hope you're buckling yourself in for another great episode today. Today, we wanted to talk to you about the numbers that you need to know in your sales process. And there's some critical numbers that every business owner should have in their sales process, whether it's the beginning or in the middle or at the end. Nick's going to unveil some of these key metrics that you really should understand at a deeper level. So before we get into it, Nick, how was your weekend? How are you this morning?
Well, very good, sir. As some of the listeners know, I've had a little operation on my throat, but they did try to silence me, but I'm back with a vengeance.
Right.
So I am.
Were they just dialing up the sexiness on the voice, or was there some sort of...
up the sexiness on the voice? Hey, how can we give him that Richard Mercer 106.5 love song dedication voice?
Yeah.
That's how it is, yeah.
And you pay more for the Morgan Freeman one, obviously, when that...
I only wish, wouldn't that be good, right? Morgan, can I have a Morgan Freeman voice?
Yeah, please, yeah. I want to sound like silky chocolate.
Silky
anyway, today we're talking about the key numbers in your sales process or sales cycle. Nick, what advice do you have for business owners if they're kind of listening to this and going, what kind of numbers are they talking about here? What's important? I'd like to know. What are those numbers? What are the key metrics that every business owner needs to know and have in their sales process?
Yeah, look, I think we need to split them into probably three areas, the easiest way. And these are metrics that, we use, metrics that all my clients that we teach use, metrics I've learned from some of the best on the planet, studying with them. And I think what happens is that, we really need to, get a good feel for our metrics because they really tell us a picture of, what's at hand for us and what we need to change or edit or do better where it comes to sales and marketing, especially and then operationally as well. So let me start at marketing because, the buck starts there, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So the first two I think need to be, number one is cost per lead.
Right.
Most people worry a lot about the cost per click. And if you're advertising on social media using things like, Google Ads, Insta, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it may be, if you're running ads on any of those platforms, people are worried about the click. It's going to cost me 8 cents a click or 15 cents a click. And to be honest, as we all know, clicks mean shit, to be brutal. Because it's not the clicks. It's not how many people are clicking on your ad. It's how many people are opting in or taking the next step of what you've asked them to do. Give me a call here, send an email here, opt in here, talk to this chatbot here, whatever it may be. Right? So I personally aren't into the whole click thing. To be honest, I just move past it. One of the key metrics, however, I am is to go, how much is that opt-in costing me? How much is that lead costing me? And here's an example. If you've got a click of $1 a click and it takes 50 clicks to get one opt-in, it means that it's $50 for that lead. Now, the lead doesn't mean anything because the lead's just, hey, I'm interested in knowing a little bit more about what you've got to do. I'm going to put my hand up or I want to know more or I'm going to download your book or your magazine, or, I'm going to opt in for that sales call, or, I really like that, yellow colored, Porsche, right? Whatever it may be. Like there's all of these different things for an opt-in. So number one, I think for marketing, it's cost per lead. Right. And I'm going to kind of map out the bigger picture, why we're so worried about the cost per lead, so to speak. So that would be kind of part one. Yeah. Now, if you're doing offline, it's pretty much the same. So let me give you an example. If you've got a call center doing your work by booking an appointment, let's call an appointment a lead, right? You've got to, ring 200 people to get in touch with 100 people. And, maybe those 200 calls are costing you, I don't know, $60 an hour. They make, 20 calls in that hour. It's costing you 10 hours, so that's $650 to get maybe 10 appointments. So each one of those appointments is $65 an appointment. So
Right.
200
Good.
down to 100, down to 10, right? That's a 5% conversion rate.
Yeah.
So, if you look at it once again, you're looking at, how much is it per lead, because everything's costing you. If you have to go out and see 20 people because they're just referrals, it's costing you time, money, energy, phone calls. You could put a dollar figure to it. It cost me an hour and a half of my time to go and talk to that referral that I got through the door. So just
Very good.
put a monetary figure. Yep. Now, part two then is the conversion rate. So in marketing, it's the conversion rate. So once again, how many clicks have I got on there, and how many clicks to opt in? So that's your first conversion rate. So once again, 20 people click on it, one person opts in, right? You've got that conversion rate, right? If it's two people opting in, it's 10%. One person opting in, it's about 5%, give or take. So your first level is, what's that conversion rate? And same thing, how many leads come from your website? 10 leads, 10 people looking at it, one person opts in, it's a 10% conversion rate.
Right.
Right? So that's very, very important. Now, some people go, I get 500 people a day looking at my website. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But if your opt-in is one person a day and 500 people went there, it's a pretty low opt-in. So it's either the content's wrong, they're leaving the page too quick, it's not relevant, or you just haven't captured them enough with a really exciting offer for them to do it, or stadium pitch, as we know through Chet Holmes's book, what's our stadium? Right? So
right.
the figures are actually telling you more than what is shown, right? That's people think that is just conversion figures. No, it's the conversion figures are also telling me about the quality of content or connection that I've got to my audience, right?
That's right.
Important.
Yeah.
So those two, I think, are probably that. So number one, cost per lead. Number two, what's a conversion rate? Right, and then you've got the conversion rate, obviously, in a sales scenario, which I'm going to talk about next. Yeah, so those two are kind of cool marketing metrics that you need to know.
Great. Good. I also want to make a quick note on conversion rate. A lot of people are chasing leads all the time, trying to get those clicks, trying to get those leads and figuring out that cost per lead. Sometimes you don't need any more leads. Sometimes you just need to look after the ones you've got. And I've spoken to probably hundreds of different business owners now that are constantly chasing leads, and I get them to slow down a little bit and focus on their conversion rate. So if you can take it from, say, a 20% conversion rate to a 40% conversion rate, well, hey, you just doubled your conversion rate and doubled your business. So sometimes you don't need more of those leads. You just need to look after the ones you got.
Well, even if you took it from a 20% conversion rate to a 22%, conversion rate, you've got pretty significant increases, 10%. And 10% is massive. So yes, you're exactly right. So those two are very, very critical. Then you've got sales. So I think these two are really, really critical. Number one is what's the cost per conversion? So now if you had 10 leads at $50 a lead, as an example, that's $500. And out of those 10 leads, you've converted one, which is 10%. That cost per conversion has now cost you $500. So that actually, there's two cost per conversion and cost per acquisition, which is kind of the same thing, just a different language around it. But, cost per acquisition, how much does it cost you now to make that sale? Because some people don't realize this. Some people go, yeah, we got leads and we convert them. And I'm like, what's your conversion? They're like, 20%. And I'm like, well, how many leads do you need? And they're like, 30 leads. And I'm like, all right, 30 leads. And, and how much per lead? They're like, I don't really know. I'm like, well, if it was, $50 a lead, 30 leads is, $1,500. So, it's, it's a lot of money depending on what you're selling. So if you're selling a product for under that, there you go. I mean, perfect example, I spoke to a client, they sell awnings. This client was, 78 leads a month at a cost of like $2,500. They were doing 3 sales a month, not even 2 sales a month, at $1,500 GP, not even net GP.
Yeah.
So, it's when you look at it, the ads were costing them more than what the conversion is. So they've got a conversion problem that they need to repair, right? And that tells me it wasn't the lead flow. It's just the lack of conversion, maybe with and I had to look at their sales copy and all of that stuff, and just wasn't up to scratch and all of these things, right? So they have a machine running there, but it's just inefficient. So, and you lose money. You think you're making sales, but you're losing money. Because at the end of the day, if it was all profit, it'd be great. Each product was $6,500, but there was only like $1,500 in profit if you're lucky. So,
right.
So very, very important for, I think it's important that we, get that under wraps. How much is it costing you for each lead versus in the marketing phase? In the sales phase, how much is it costing per conversion? So then we know, or per client acquisition, how much is it costing you to get that person? Yeah,
right. And that's a reflection of your efficiency to convert or basically sign on your client.
Well, that and making sure, there's two problems there. One is that the ideal client that is requesting more information.
Yep.
Number one. Number two, is your sales process adequate enough in order for you to be able to convert at a more efficient level? Because, if you're at 10% conversion and you take it to 15% conversion, you've increased your conversion rate by 50%. From 1 to 2 almost, which is massive. So, remember, it's a game of incremental improvement. So if you can tweak your sales process to on the marketing and get the client that's more ready to purchase. And, we know already 3% to 5% are ready to go. 30% are probably semi-ready, but they need a bit of a nudge. And, and then the rest of the 60% plus is like, they're not even interested in what you've got to offer.
They don't know you exist.
Well, it's like going on holidays. You don't need to go into that $2 shop. But guess what? You got your hands behind your back, or you're eating an ice cream and you stroll in there and looking for shit that you don't really need. But guess what? Sometimes you go, I need that, little Rubik's Cube keychain to put on my car keys because it's cute. So you go and buy it. That's a conversion metric. That's like, if you've got a $2 shop near the ocean front in a tourist destination, that's all the crap that you're selling anyway. It's not like people go, I must go to the $2 shop to go and buy that keychain for my.
That's right. It's thongs and towels and hats and sunnies and.
That's where the money's at.
Kids' sand toys, yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Yesterday I was in a little town called Milton, right? It's almost 3 hours from Sydney, give or take. And my wife the day before went with our friend, which is her girlfriend, and she bought a nice hat, yuppie kind of looking hat.
Oh yeah.
It was like $150 or whatever it is, and I'm there and I'm sitting in the car waiting for my mate to get a coffee because I've got the boat on the back, and I can see these other two girls trying this hat on, and then they just put it back, and all they were doing was just killing time, and a couple of kids running around. It's this little town, so you're not going specifically, hey, I've seen an ad for this place to go and get this hat, and I'm from Sydney. No, I'm not going to drive 3 hours to go get it. And guess what? And I think we could call it a conversion metric that you could look at. That's an incidental conversion. They came in for something else, but they purchased that, so that could be a metric that you could look at as well. I only wanted marketing, but I ended up buying coaching from you, But once again, I think it's the cost per conversion is what we're looking at. Number one. And number two, conversion rate. So how many leads do we need to have from the marketing? Not only from the ad to the marketing, whether online, offline, the postcard, the whatever, but also then from the amount of leads to the conversion. So, and that's why you've got, cost per acquisition and conversion rate in selling as well, not just marketing. So I think 2 areas, ad to opt-in, and then opt-in to conversion, opt-in to sale.
Got it.
Like that. So it's a bit of a crossover there. And then number 3, I think around an operations side of things, there's probably 2 areas there that I would definitely look at. Number 1 is client life cycle. how long does that client stay with us
Yep.
for, or your company for? In us, it's probably 3 years, 2.5 years to
Mm-hmm.
3 years, rough average. Most 75% of people, or our goal is 75% of people to sign up year two.
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing about year two, there's no cost for client acquisition or any of that stuff.
That's right.
It's pure profit, so it's even
Yeah.
better. And then obviously minus expenses, all that
Mm.
stuff. But there's no marketing cost, which is good. And number two, so how long does that client stay with you for? That's a
Yep.
key metric for you to be able to extend it. Now, in some places you can't. They only buy one hamburger a week off you, but they stay with you for 40 weeks. Can you get them to buy 44 weeks? That's an increase of 10%.
Yeah.
Can you get them to upsell, buy a burger and a Coke and chips?
Yep.
Perfect. Can I get them to accidentally drop in? Hey, I was in the neighborhood, or, I was talking to a friend of mine about your burger, so I drove to your place. I've done that like with Mary's Burgers, this place at Newtown.
Mm-hmm.
Dingiest kind of rocky looking place. It's got the vibe, but the burgers are just like the best. So, I'll go there with my mates, or I'll go there with the kids, or, and it's not really kid friendly, but it's kind of cool and they love it, So, it's not that I was, thinking that. We just had it last minute. I were driving through here. Mary's Burgers, yeah, cool, the link, right? So, that extends the client life cycle, but it also rolls into the next one, which is a client life value. Your goal is to see if you can extend that. At the sale area, can I say, hey, do you want fries with that? Can I say, hey, do you want to upsize that? Hey, can I say, we've not only got coaching, but guess what? We've got a marketing package to come along. That's something that we're introducing to our clients as well. So it's, can we give them different options? If you're a carpet cleaner, can you go, hey, there's, the carpet stain protector, the dust mite stuff that, the underlay is better, all of these things that you've gone, I've got a client life value that was $2,000. Now I can make it 2,500. That's a 25% increase. So it's pretty
And
awesome.
just to be clear, the client life value, Nick, this is a question, is what that client. So let's say your client life cycle is a year, and let's say go back to the burger example. Let's say over the course of a year, someone might spend $2,000 on food over a whole year because they come in once a week and they buy food for their family and so on. You say the client life value. So is that measured against what they're spending each week, or is that measured against what they're spending each year?
I think it could be over the cycle of how long the client stays with
Right,
you.
over the year, their annual value.
It could be even longer. Let's think about it. Let's say if you're in real estate, right? In real estate today, on average, it's probably 7 years. People move for a bigger home, and it could be because their kids are growing or whatever. So I know with my house, I've been here 2 years. Now, I'm looking for, next year, probably investment property. We're about to do a renovation, or we're working on doing a renovation. So I'm spending more money. I've already done one reno, and now it's the next one. So that's happened within a 2-year cycle, and I'm starting again. So if it was the plumber that I've used, I'm about to use him again.
Right.
He's a cool plumber, or the electrician. And I've used him for little things, put this download up, do this for me, wire up the garage, it wasn't just the big job. I've used them for other things. So do you see my client life cycle is extending, or with him, and my client life value with him is extending. But in real estate, it could be 7 years. It could be within that 7 years that you go to the homeowner, hey, homeowner, have you ever thought about investment property? Guess what? We've got a really good opportunity coming up 3 streets from you, and I think it'd be good. You've already got equity in this house. It's gone up. Clever real estate agents do that. Most of them don't do that, but if I was a real estate agent, that's what I'm doing. So I've already got the initial sale, 1.5%, 2% on $1.5 million property in Sydney, average medium price.
Yeah.
But I've never had a real estate agent contact me and go, hey, dude, there's a house, 2 streets away, and I walk the dog all the time. I see it, and I'm in a position now to be able to look into that. A bit of a reno, fixer-upper. I like that vibe, but not once ever. They just send me shit that they've sold.
That's
So
right.
you
It's sold or
see once again,
the market
the,
update.
it's a market update. Once
Yeah.
again, these are things that, if you're an electrician or a plumber, you go, have you thought about maybe setting up a shower outside for summer near your pool? Have you thought about, hey, that pergola, putting some heaters in, or
Mm, mm,
wiring up, plumbing the gas up and
mm.
for winter, or just the little things like that extend the client life cycle and the
Yep.
client life value.
Yep.
Most people think it's just a one-off, where it isn't. The only one-off is if you're buying a coffin, kind of one-off.
It's going to be a one-off purchase.
Sort of, but it's funny because the people that are purchasing the coffin could probably use one for themselves.
I was going to say, but then if they're selling it through, we start thinking about the stuff on autopilot. But, I was thinking just then the funeral home is usually if you go, and I was going to sound a bit more, but if the experience is good because the funeral was excellent and they handled it well, you're likely to go back again.
It's
Now, it's going to be very hard to measure that client life cycle.
because you don't know when. But
You don't know when.
a friend of mine, Con, that's a funeral director, I've done 3 funerals for him.
There we go.
Because he's not only a mate of mine, looked after us, he was cool, and the experience was good. So, I've recommended a mate and his dad, my brother-in-law, my nephew at the time, and God forbid, when my mum comes to the time, or maybe it's me that goes. I don't know. But believe you me, they've got repeat business. I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, the client life cycle, client life value is important. Now, I'm just going to give you 2 supplementaries.
Okay, cool.
Which is cool. The next one is a velocity of return. How long does it take from when you've paid money for advertising to when you get that back in the sale? It's important to know because sometimes you might have thousands of dollars out. Let's say for us, $1,200 a month, $1,000 a month on average, just on our magazine, Facebook, Insta campaign. Yep. So far, no conversions out of that. It's been 2 months. That's already $2,500 out, give or take. We're close, right? And we know that it's only a matter of time, but I want to measure that because maybe it takes 3 months of, 80 leads a month or whatever.
Yeah.
Cheap $15 leads. Let's call them $10 leads. You know what? Let's call them $15 leads. That's $1,200, and maybe the next one's $1,200. That's 240 leads to make a $30,000 or $50,000 sale. Now, in saying that, when you look at it, there's still an expense. It's $3,500 for 50 G's back. Is that a good conversion? The answer is yes. If we can get it to under $2,000 for a $30,000 return back, it's 15x.
Yeah.
So, guys, the big thing that I'm trying to say here with a velocity return, you're trying to narrow it down. And that, once again, goes to your sales cycle, to your marketing cycle, how efficient you are, to how ready the client is.
Yeah.
How much of these do you need to nurture? What are you planting for long-term seeds? With our magazine campaign, it's not for quick conversion. It's actually a strategy, not a tactical approach.
That's right.
Right. Our thing, this is a strategy for long-term nurture. Not a tactical approach. Our Barclead campaign is a tactical conversion now approach. So do you see there's 2 different areas that you need to look at. So velocity of return is really critical. How long does it take you from the investment through to return on investment?
Got it.
And number 2, I think a referral measure is really good. If you're in business, whether it's B2B or business to consumer, you need to get really good with referrals. How good are you referring? How good does your system, your machine, your sales machine work? With us, we need to get that better. Something
That's true.
we're working on. Our review system is really good. We've got killer reviews all the way through, and we're building equity in order to make referral even better for somebody, because results we don't have a problem with. 95% of our clients, maybe more, 98% of our clients undoubtedly have results, and our guarantees are so strong that we guarantee the result. So that part's good. So once again, having these numbers is just a refinement of the process.
Yes. I think one very important note here is, if you're listening to all this and going, I don't have any data on this, I don't have any of these numbers, and I never have had, don't panic, because ultimately you're going to have to create the data. So if you haven't If you can't pull any data, meaning the numbers on your cost per lead and your acquisition cost, or understanding what your velocity of return is, your client life cycle, the client life value. If you don't know that, that's okay. Start gathering data now. Start look at what you're putting out from a marketing aspect. Start looking what's coming back from a sales aspect, and start measuring it. And do it for the next 30 days. We've just started May, great timing. Do it for the next month. And then, hey, you've got 30 days of information that you can start using to make better decisions within your sales process. So if you haven't necessarily tracked this data before, now's the time to start doing so, and then using the numbers that we've been speaking about today.
Perfect. Yeah. So shall we do a little recap?
Let's please do a recap
Numbers,
just to
yeah.
cover off the most important metrics. Yes.
So in your marketing, I think it's cost per lead and conversion rate from click through to opt-in, or from sign through to opt-in, offline postcard through to opt-in. How many postcards did I get? How many people came to me? Sales, I think it's conversion, cost per conversion, or cost per acquisition, and conversion rate. How many people from leads did I get into conversion? What's that conversion, and how much did it cost me to acquire that client? And then operationally, I think it's client life cycle, client life value. And then the supplementaries, like Powerball, is velocity of return and referral conversion.
Right. Number of referrals. Good.
Number of referrals.
Good. Guys, if you need help with any of this, you're listening to this thinking, I'm really struggling in one area, reach out to us, please. askitupcoach.com.au. Very, very happy to help guide you along. And by the way, the advice that we give out is free. So we give out to over 12 strategy sessions a week to business owners. If you want to be one of those business owners, again, shoot us an email to askitupcoach.com.au. Thank you once again for your time today, Nick.
Oh, good.
And we'll fill you in with more business growth strategy gold on the next episode of Coaching Conversation. Bye for now.
Bye.